Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. So this is just one of those, it's in the morning. Normally we have classes here in the morning, but the instructors had stuff that they needed to do, so we ended up taking a break from teaching today. So I just happened to pop in and try to get some stuff done here, but thought I'd put together a video for you guys. And the question that I had for this topic was, what are some questions to ask an instructor before you join a studio, right? You know, I want you to join a club, an academy, whatever they call themselves. And I want you to learn this art that I love because it's changed my life and it's changed the lives of so many people around the world. You know, there are many factors to the reasons why. I can get into that into another video, but what are some questions that you'd want to ask an instructor? And sometimes you're going to have to deal with salespeople. If it's a big school, the instructor probably is not all that much part of the sales process. But you know, before you sign the dotted line, you want to make sure that you get your answers answered correctly, or your questions answered correctly, rather. So one of the first ones to ask is, what's your schedule? And it's an easy one. You know, they'll hand you a sheet of paper, tell you this is our schedule. But believe it or not, some people don't even ask what the schedule is. Now, if they have a website, you can check online, but one of the things that I don't like about checking websites is that often they're not the most current. They might make a change to the schedule in the studio, but then forget to do it online. Now, our system is such that when we change it on the system, then it automatically changes online, or at least it should. Better check that, right? So you need to make sure the schedule matches your schedule, or if the schedule matches a schedule you could easily adapt to. Because if you can't, then what's the use, right? Then you're not going to be there. Another question to ask would be, how many classes a week can I attend? We keep it simple here. We just say, you know, it's an unlimited membership. You know, come to as many or as few classes as you want. Now, I do have a membership that's a fundamentals only membership, but we don't even, it's available, but nobody ever takes it. Everybody takes our Fundamentals Plus membership, which gives you access to every single time slot we have. Even if we add classes to the schedule, you'll be grandfathered in, right? There's not, you know, it just keeps it a little less confusing because it's so hard to manage people's, you know, attendance and stuff. And many of you know we don't keep track of attendance. Because it's not really important as far as, you know, your progress. And you know, you're going to come to as many or as few classes as you want. It's your journey, not ours. You know, we're hoping to be part of it, but at the end of the day, you have to make your own decisions. Now, another thing to ask would be, do you have a policy on, or some of you do, is there a policy on what if I'm running late? Some schools will have a policy where if you're late, you're locked out. You know, you can't come in. We don't. I have people, you know, in a 2-hour class, you know, sometimes I have people come in 45 minutes late. And the reason is because, you know, they've got work obligations, family obligations, and they just can't help but be late. So for me, do I want them to now not train because, you know, they can't be on time? You know, let's say class starts at 6:30 and you get off at work at maybe 5:30 and you want to go home and, you know, you want to take a quick shower and you want to head out to the studio and it takes 20 minutes to get home and it takes 30 minutes to get to the studio, and you know, something always stops you at home and you got to get some stuff done, and you know, so you can't come, you know, on time. You're going to be 15-20 minutes late every time. You know, I say, you know what, if that's a time that you come, then come. Well, I'm going to miss the warm-up. Yeah, well, you know, I'd rather you come late than not come at all. Simple as that. That's just my thinking. Whereas other people will look at it as a sign of disrespect for coming in late. You know, we're all grown-ups here. If you want to, you know, or some people, you know, let's say you're just one of those who just runs late, even though you'd have no excuse. I'm always late. Well, then you're always late. I mean, you're missing out. We don't have the classes be set up the way they are for no reason. I mean, they're set up the way they are so you can benefit from it. And if you don't want that full benefit, then that's up to you. You know, in that way, I just look at you. You're the paying customer. You know, it's up to you what experience you want to have. Okay, so number one is, you know, ask for the schedule. Number two is ask if there's any problems if you run late for class. You know, another one is, do you have private lessons? Private lessons are very important because if you have the means and the time, then you want to do them. You do, because they do, well, it depends on the instructor as well, right? You know, so the next part to this question is, okay, you have private lessons. Number one, what do you teach in those private lessons, right? Do you just teach me what you feel like teaching me today? Do you teach me off of a curriculum? Do you teach me what I need to work on? You know, those are good questions that you need to have answered. Which then leads to the next question is, do you have a curriculum? And most people, of course, you know, to get you to sign the dotted line, they will say, yes, I do have a curriculum. Okay, can I see it? You know, and that, I don't know if that one is just so important, because when we were first operating, you know, we had a curriculum. We knew what needed to be taught when, but did I have it written down for somebody? Well, I had it written down for me, but, you know, I didn't have it printed up. You know, and back then, we didn't really have the curriculum written down because it just was easier. It just, you know what, I'll teach you what you need to learn. But, you know, I was a very disciplined instructor in that I taught you exactly what you needed to know. I had a small team. You know, we had 5, 6, maybe 10 people in the studio in the first year, right? So it was easy. I know what every single one of them need to know, and I'll just say, no, you need this next, and I teach it to them. But as we got larger, then we needed to, you know, put a copy out there. So we do have it. It's all on KAATARO Jiu Jitsu online. It's there. You can sign up for a free membership if you want, and you should be able to see it. I'm not sure. But, you know, here in the studio, if you look behind me, you know, we have it written on the board here. By no means is it all of it, but there is a lot. And we do have the KAATARO Jiu Jitsu ladder here. We do have the self-defense concepts. And they're just titles. There's no descriptions or anything. It's just, you know, because if I put descriptions, you know, the board would have to be much larger. So you ask them if they got a curriculum, and then if they in fact teach it, you know, because a lot of places will have it and they don't actually teach it. They say they do, but, you know, you're going to walk in and you're going to learn weird shit. Another question to ask is, do you have a linear, a circular, or a random teaching system, right? Do you teach me what I need to know in order, or do you have a small universe of things I need to know, and you're just going to go through it with me one at a time until we go through it, and then we go through it again? Or do you just kind of teach me what you feel like teaching me today, right? I can tell you, of the three, if you're going to learn in a random way, I wouldn't do that. The best way is to learn linearly. Now, the problem with learning or linearly, it's very difficult to manage a group class and teach linearly. I've had classes where I've had 3 distinct groups in class, and I'm just looking because I'm looking at the mat here, and 3 distinct groups where I might have the most advanced guys, you know, color belts, let's call them, you know, high blue belts on up. And then I'd have the middle group, which would be high white belts, maybe brand new blue belts. And I'd have the third group, which would be brand new people, you know, less than a month. And each one of them has to learn something different concepts. And, you know, that's one of the things that we do to cater to our students. You know, we do our best to do it, and that we try to keep everybody in as close to a linear learning sequence as possible, but we all know that group classes, you really kind of teach to the average student there, and there are going to be people who are ahead of everybody who are going to get less benefit, and you're going to have people who are less experienced and they're going to get less benefit because they're going to be going over stuff that they're not quite ready for. But that's just kind of how group classes go. So, back to the old question, do you offer privates? And if you do, then you're getting your instruction tailored to you, provided it's not random shit. You want it to be where you're learning what you're supposed to learn when you're supposed to learn. Another thing is, do you offer discounts? We do. We have two discounts. Are you active duty law enforcement, or are you a U.S. military veteran or active duty? And we also offer volume discounts. So those are really the two types of discounts we offer. You're either law enforcement and a veteran, or a veteran, or you buy volume. So what is volume? So if you pay for a year in advance, you'll get 10 off, 10%. You pay for 2 years in advance, you get 20% off. So that's pretty simple. So yes, we do have them. As far as family discounts, we offer them, but it's only on the third member. And nobody, we don't do any type where, I've seen somewhere you might have a family with 10 people and they might charge you for the first 3 people, and then the remaining 7 are free. We don't do that, only because it takes away from the experience of the members that pay. So those are discounts that we offer. Another is, do you have a lower price if I sign a contract? So we do. And we only did contracts. Dave only started contracts because it wouldn't really look good for us and for them if they did 1, 2, or 3 months and then left. Then they're saying, oh yeah, we train at KAATARO Jiu Jitsu, and they didn't learn anything. They might have learned a little bit, but we can't really instill a lot of things in them in 3 months. So what we did was said, okay, we do have a contract. If you stay for a year, we'll cut the price significantly, and once you stay for a year, then then after that it's month to month at the same rate. You don't need to pay the higher rate. On the other hand, if you didn't want a contract, then it was a higher sign-up fee and a higher monthly rate. So that question was, okay, do you offer discounts, and do you have a contract? And also, if you're going to sign a membership contract, the important question to ask then is, okay, so once, let's say it's a 12-month contract. Once the 12 months are up, do you re-sign me up for another 12 months? Do you renew the contract, or do I go on a month-to-month at that point? I just told you the motivation for us having a contract. It's just to have you in for a year and give KAATARO Jiu Jitsu a try for a year. After that, it's up to you. So we do not renew contracts. We don't like to tie in people to feel like they're forced to stay here, because at the end of the day, if you don't want to be here, then you need to be where you want to be. And another question to ask would be, how often are the mats cleaned? I mean, you would think that that should be done without saying, but ask, how often are the mats cleaned? For us, they're cleaned 2-3 times a day. Every time we have a new group of classes. So for instance, today's Thursday. So we have early morning classes, Tuesday, Thursday. So before the 6 a.m. class, mats will get cleaned. How do we clean them? Well, first thing we do is we vacuum all the hair and the dust and all that off of the mat, and then we disinfect it. We mop it with antibacterial agents, and then we'll let it dry. So that takes time. So, and the reason why a lot of places don't want to do it is because it takes time and it's effort. So that gets done, that would have gotten done in the 5 o'clock a.m. hour. Then we'd have the 6 a.m. class. Then we have another class today at 10 a.m. So it would have been done in the 9 a.m. hour, so that's twice. And then we have the evening classes, which start at 5:30 today, 5:30 p.m. So then it would have gotten cleaned in the 4 o'clock hour, 4 to 5 o'clock hour. So that would be 3 times. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do it first thing in the morning before classes in the morning, and they'll run the whole day, however many classes they have, and they'll only clean the mats in the morning. So they say every day. Okay, well, every day, how many times a day, right? That's another follow-on question to that. If you're a germaphobe like I am, and this is something we've always done, even before COVID. It's funny because people, once COVID came, now they're clean. It's like, no, we've always been clean like that. Just because we put our faces on the mats. Another thing too is see if you can observe, or ask. You can ask, do you have a policy on people walking barefoot in the studio? So what will happen is, after you're done training, you step off of the mat to go and grab some water, or grab a towel or whatever, and you step off the mat, and do you put your shoes on and then walk to wherever your bag is to grab your stuff, or do you just go barefoot all over? I've seen studios where they take their shoes off, obviously, to go onto the mat. But once they're off of the mat, they're walking around the studio where everybody walks with their shoes on. You're walking on the floor barefooted. And I especially gross out when people walk to the bathroom, because I didn't bring any sandals. I brought shoes, so I don't want to have to put my shoes back on. So I'm just going to walk to the bathroom. Yeah, that's a no-no. We don't do that here. Another question to ask is, do you have a uniform policy? Right? Uniform policies are very, they vary by school. Some schools do, some schools don't. That's something you need to know. The last thing is, what's the price? If somebody asks me right off the bat, and this has just kind of been after hundreds of interactions, whenever somebody asks me up front, what's the cost, then I know price is the issue for them, and almost every time they don't come, which is fine with me, because as much as a transaction needs to take place in order for you to train in jiu-jitsu, we don't want it to be a transactional relationship. Some people at the end of the day say, I'm paying you my money and that's just the way it is. So, and I get it. But there's so much more that you get by being a member of Kama Jiu-Jitsu, or probably at the studio you're at, where the money is needed to keep the lights on and keep the studio open, right? Because look, here we are, we're sitting in the studio here and it's empty. There's nobody here, right? It's not like a jiu-jitsu studio is generating revenue during its open hours like a retail store, right? You go to a retail store, when their hours are open, they're generating revenue. And when they're closed, they're not. Like a restaurant, same thing, generating revenue when they're open. We're here, but there's no revenue. The revenue gets created or gets earned during our classes, which are, over the course of a few hours a day. So the memberships are required to keep us in this place. Otherwise, we can't just close up and pack up all the mats and set them off to the side. And we can't rent a studio by the hour. We need to rent a studio by 3 and 5 year time periods. So that's where the revenue needs to come in. But the least important thing should be the cost of the membership, because you need to look at the overall value. So the purpose of all these questions that I put on here for you is to determine whether or not it's a value to you, whether you're getting the value that you require. And just remember, cost is not an issue unless there is an absence of value. And here at Kama Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm hoping at the studio you're at, they're trying to provide value to you, the member. And if they provide value and the value matches up or exceeds the cost of your membership, then you will stay. But don't ask about the cost first. That's just my advice to you, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to start comparing prices, and you're going to go to the cheapest provider. And for the most part, cheap is cheap for a reason. It's simple as that. You get what you pay for. But anyway, I hope that helps you, the brand new person looking to start your journey, or if you're looking to switch school and you thought, I chose the wrong school to begin with. Let me choose another school, but let me do it in a smarter fashion. So use these questions, and they will help you. In the meantime, if you have any other topics that you'd like us to cover, feel free to put them in the comments below, and come visit us at one of our studios. We've got Kama Jiu-Jitsu in Irvine, California. We've got Kama Jiu-Jitsu Flower Mound, Texas. We've got Kama Jiu-Jitsu Austin, Texas. And also, if you're too far from any of those, come see us online at kamajujitsuonline.com. And that's where you can get the linear teaching of Kama Jiu-Jitsu, all for your benefit in the comfort and privacy of your own home. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if this is something that you'd like to like and then share, we'd love that to happen. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Take care. Have a great day. Happy training. Bye now.